Good morning, children. Today we are going to discuss about story writing. A story is an account of one or more than one events. I think you understand the events. It is set in a time or place, real or imaginary. It has a few characters and some dialogues. It is very important that you should know what is a character. I think you have studied many stories in Hindi, English. Suppose there is a story of a tortoise and hare. They decided to take part in a run. You know, tortoise was the winner. In this story, hare is a character. Tortoise is also a character. In Hindi, uh, you read the story of Ramayana. In Ramayana, there are many characters. Ram is a character, Sita is a character, Dasarath is a character, Lakshman is a character, Raman is a character. So you can see many characters. They talk to each other. That is called a dialogue. So whenever you write a story, you have to imagine about characters and the dialogues. After that, you have to think about the events. It is important to be imaginative while writing a story. Imagination is important in writing a story. Perhaps you have heard about famous stories of Premchand, Munshi Premchand. The imagined events should be logically developed and interlinked. It is easy to distinguish a good story from a bad one. A good story keeps suspense till the end. A bad story is predictable. A story with a dramatic turn towards the end is generally effective. It amuses and surprises us a lot. You take the example of Ramayana. Lakshman was hurt by Meghnad. Everybody is surprised. Susen, the doctor, suggested to bring Sajivan Bhuti. This Sajivan Bhuti was available in the northern part of India. You can think the distance was thousands of miles. But Ram, Hanuman became ready to bring the Sajivan Bhuti before rising of the sun. So everybody was thinking that Lakshman will die. But what is surprise? that Hanuman brought the medicine. So, your story should be should surprise people. Now, the other points: how to write a story. Read the given outlines carefully. You will be given an event. Perhaps you may be given a character. So you should read the given outlines carefully in the question. Try to produce a well connected narrative using your imagination. Follow the outline carefully and ensure that no point is left. Every point in the outline is important for you. So be careful and not a single point should be left when you write a story. Add dialogues wherever necessary to make the story natural. Make the conclusion surprising, but the element of surprise should not be abrupt or seen to be forced or unnatural. Things should be natural. You can take the examples of the story of Munshi Premchand. His story, his stories are natural. When a reader reads those stories, he feels that things are natural. The things are regularly happening in the society. The heading of a story should be brief and telling. It must be based on the main character, an incident, or an object. Use simple, plain English. Your English should be very simple, but that should be correct. Though a story can be written in many different ways, the student should try to make use of the linear narrative, that is, from the present to the future, one incident leading to an other in a chronological order. Invent the names of characters. You have to think, you have to give the name of the characters when you are writing a story, and incidents according to the background of the story. For example, an Indian setting requires Indian characters and an English setting English characters. A story involving a Hindu culture background should normally have Hindu characters. However, it does not mean that such a story cannot have any character from other cultural background. So you have to write the natural events. What you see around you in your school, in your neighborhood, in the society. You read daily in the newspaper. So you are acquainted, you are acquainted about all the events. So don't be fearful to write the events. Always remember the events should be natural. Suggested marking scheme content for it is 3 marks, accuracy 1.5 marks, fluency 1.5 marks, and total 6 marks. Generally, stories are asked in your examination for 6 marks. Format of a story. First, beginning. Arresting. Beginning should be arresting. Brief details. Middle. It should be the culmination of the preceding event or events, and prepare the reader for the coming event or events. Ending satisfying, surprising if possible. There are some solved examples for you. Write a story in about 120 words which begins Ramu was a daring coin picker. I think you understand the points. Coin, some people collect the coins of 1 rupees, 2 rupees, 5 rupees, 10 rupees. Have you seen a coin of 20 rupees? Perhaps. But you should think Ramu was a daring coin picker. He collects coin. First of all, you have to give the heading you should write. So, a coin picker. Ramu was a daring coin picker. He was one among the many who would come to the beach in high tide. All of them would brave strong waves to pick up 1 to 5 rupee coins brought along by the waves. They had acquired special skills. Ramu knew, like others, that the job was risky, but he was unafraid. When I asked him, "Why do you go to meet your death?" he told, "Because death comes when it comes," was his nonchalant reply. One day Ramu was very happy. He said he had collected 50 coins. He would celebrate. I had no idea of his celebration. In the evening, I saw a catch of policemen around a hut in the rag picker colony, not far away from the beach. I learned 3 boys had died because of consuming illicit liquor. Ramu was one of them. The daring coin picker had been rewarded by the sea. There was again high tide in the sea. There were again coin pickers rushing towards the waves. The same story was repeated again and again on the sands of time. So, this was an example. You should see the second example. Write a story in about 120 words that ends on the note, "I was trying to discover the child in me." Be careful about the line. "I was trying to discover the child in me." You may use the hints given below. My friend Ramesh, paralyzed on a wheelchair, came to stay with me in my village. My sons and some other kids would take him out went to an orange orchard, tried to steal oranges. The owner came. My friend asked how to he could steal. He was only finding the child in him. Ramesh was my close friend. He was 50 and was on a wheelchair almost all the day times. His forelegs had been paralyzed in a road accident. He had learned to accept his disability. He lived with his brother in a small town. Once he wrote to me that he would come to stay with me for a week. He said he needed fresh air of the countryside. I welcomed him and he came to stay with me in our big Haveli on the outskirts of a forest village known for its orange orchards. I would remain away from home for some hours of the day to deal with my own affairs. My two sons and two or three kids from neighborhood would hang around my friend almost all day and would carry him out on his invitation. They needed outing for mischiefs on one or the other pretext. One day my friend said to the One day my friend said to the young devils, there are so many ripe oranges. Why don't you pick them? What a pity there is no one to taste them. The orchard was in a deserted place. The kids immediately got inspired and yelled, let us go. The small thieves rushed in along with my friend. When the kids failed to pick up the really good oranges quite higher up and beyond their reach, my friend directed them to bring a table and a wire he saw lying nearby. He told them how to fashion the wire into a hook and how to use it standing on the table. The mission was going on very well. The owner of the garden appeared there unexpectedly and went into rage on seeing the plunder. He shouted, you louds, stop! What are you doing? The kids fled in no time, leaving Ramesh on the wheelchair alone. So, you are the real thief, remarked the owner, who knew my friend a little. Ramesh said mischievously, how could you say that? I cannot even stand in the evening, he told me softly. I was not after oranges. I was trying to discover the child in me. Now, there is a third example for discussion. Write an original story in about 120 words. You may use the verbal input given below. My friend Kamta Prasad had lost his father, grandfather, and great grandfather on different battle fronts. His only son shot dead by a terrorist at the Taj, bored and broken, ignored my advice to resign to support his family, went to Assam to thwart terrorists. What a family! I knew he would never give up. It was the fourth death in his family. He had told me everything he my friend Kamta Prasad. 2 years back, I met Kamta in Mumbai. He seemed very sad. He had received the news the worst had happened. His father, a colonel in the army, had lost his life in Kargil War. There was a terse message. Colonel S.K. Prasad had become a martyr in defending post 190 on the east. Some years ago, in 1947, again on the Kashmir front, his grandfather, a Subedar major, had laid down in his life, and in the distant past, his great grandfather was brutally tortured by the Japanese in the captured Burma. And today, when I flew to meet him, I found him bowed and broken. There were tears in his eyes when we embraced each other. I had no words of consolation. I only placed my hand on his shoulder. His only son, Sunny, a commando in the NSG, had been shot down by a terrorist at the Taj. The dead body had been brought home for cremation. Everything was ready. Everybody was in a hurry. Nobody had much time to spare for the dead. A few days after a cremation, I again went to meet Kamta. After a few preliminaries, I asked him what he had decided. You cannot help it now. Put in your papers and get some civilian job. You are now the only male member to support your family. Kamta looked philosophical. You know, Kamal, our family is destined to be soldiers. God's edict is, thou shalt fight, and fight I will. Kamta is now in Assam to thwart terrorists. What a family. So, this is a very inspirational story for you. Now, see the fourth example. Write a story in about 120 words with the concluding remarks. Tom was a very social dog. You may use the following hints. Tom, our dog, beaten savagely, died. Neighbors were shocked, and old lady heartbroken, and old man felt chest pain on hearing the news. Died. Children of a school came to console, and invalid soldier remarked he was only a dog. No, he was much more than a dog. He was a very social dog. You have to write the heading of the story. It is already given. Tom was a very social dog. Tom was really in bad shape. He found, we found him badly beaten, blood oozed from its nose. We took him to a nearby vet means veterinary hospital. He suspected severe injuries and internal bleeding. Tom, our pet dog, would not survive. We would not find out who had beaten him so savagely. When we broke the news to our neighbors, they were shocked. One elderly woman was especially heartbroken. She used to feed Tom biscuits. They would spend about an hour together in the afternoon. And old man in the next street felt chest pain the moment he heard the Tom's death. 2 weeks later, he was dead. Children of the nearby school came to express their grief. They used to play a game of ball with Tom during recess period. Some of them came up with sympathy cards for us. An invalid soldier came to our shop and was surprised at all the fuss being made. He said he was only a dog, but he was wrong. Tom was much more than a dog. He was a loving friend to us and to many more. We belatedly realized how popular he was. I remember Tom would never bark unnecessarily. He would never run after motors. He was a silent, shy type of dog. He would only wag his tail to show his friendliness. He would like to be fondled. Tom was a very social dog. So, dear children, you should listen these stories again and again, and you should try to write a story. So, I think first of all, you listen this video again and again, and you should try to write a story in your own way, in your own language. Remember, your language should be very simple. That must be correct. Okay? I think you will do this. Thank you, children.